I didn't fix this one. We've had technical difficulties, folks, here at Holy Happy Hour Batman, and as you can see from the fact that you can't see me in the little where I should be in the little videos, I'm here. You can't see me. I am here. Boy, I don't even know how to fix that real quick. Holy Happy Hour Batman. We've had technical difficulties, and so now you can see Ashton's lips and Batman in the corner, and that's what you got there. And my shoulder. Wait, if I just go like this, I'm kind of in the video. Oh, man. So we had to redo the whole overlay, folks, just so you know. That's what was taking so long. And now I'm just a little tiny box, Ben, right there. Boy, oh boy, we had to redo the whole overlay. Just like a creepy, my giant face. Hold on. Oh, man. Now I'm just like huge in this little video screen. This is fucking hilarious. Oh man, but we made it even with the technical difficulties that just made us start 15 minutes late. I'm Ben. I'm an Episcopal priest, co-founder of the All Ports Open Network, and on this show, usually in a way that's way more smooth and has way less technical difficulties and doesn't start 15 minutes late, I'm joined by heroes of the gaming and geek world to talk about life, faith, spirituality, game design, philosophy, whatever else comes up. This show, Holy Happy Hour Batman, is a production of allportsopen.com. Don't forget, we have back-to-back TTRPG content on Mondays from the All Ports Open Network. After Holy Happy Hour Batman tonight, we're going to be bringing our Twitch audience right over to twitch.tv/allportsopen, where the Monday night crew is going to be getting into some nonsense and mischief on the open seas. They're playing a D&D pirate game, so stick around after this show. At 9 p.m. we're going to just take you right over to that show and just keep things going in a way that'll be much more smooth than this, I'm sure. Tonight on Holy Happy Hour Batman, we have something very special. It is a Delinquent Comics takeover. And so Delinquent Comics is the show that normally I am the GM of. I usually am the GM. It's a Masks actual play podcast. And I'm usually the GM, but we recently did a very special 2-part issue with Caleb Sunstead of the Sounds Like Crows podcast and the Omen's Call podcast, who was our first ever guest GM on it. It was a lot of fun, and we wanted to talk about it after the fact. And so we're going to do a takeover here tonight. Most of the cast of Delinquent Comics is going to be on the show in just a minute. And Caleb is with us to talk about the special. So we're going to be breaking all that down in just a minute. So bring your questions into the chat about Delinquent Comics, about the Death of Burnout, about Powered by the Apocalypse or Masks or whatever. We will kind of, or anything, honestly, and we'll kind of break it all down in just a minute. Just a few housekeeping items before we continue with the show. Please note that we consolidated our streams at the All Ports Open Network so that, with the exception of Holy Happy Hour Batman, all our other shows will from now on take place at twitch.tv/allportsopen. We have a brand new Friday night horror show called The Nightmare Clubhouse. The first episode was, I think, 2 Fridays ago. Yeah. And you can watch that anytime at YouTube or at allportsopen.com. It's a really fun cast. They break down horror movies. It's really worth checking out if you like the horror genre. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you checking that out and all of our other great shows at allportsopen.com. We had an episode of Delinquent Comics released today, Vega Rising issue 5. Without a doubt, my favorite Vega Rising episode yet. I love that episode. It's super cool. We probably won't spoil anything from it tonight because it just came out today. But man, I kind of wish we could because it's freaking awesome. But okay, so before we bring the cast on, it is happy hour. Oh, my face is no longer in the. There we go. I gotta be careful. Now my face is in the corner. Folks, so if you just joined this stream, I know it's really weird that my face is like huge in the corner right now. It's going to be different in just a second. But before we do that, I just want to tell you, I made a drink inspired by our show. I called it the Death of Burnout. You can see it on the screen. So this is the cocktail I was excited to make, inspired by our show. Every week on the show, because it's happy hour, Holy Happy Hour, I create a different cocktail, which I introduce in the show. And so this is a flaming drink, 2 ounces of blended age rum, a nice blended aged rum. 1 ounce of overproof rum, save that for the end. So you take 2 ounces of blended aged rum, shake it up with ice with 3/4 ounce of lime juice and grapefruit juice, equal parts, and then 1/2 ounce of cinnamon syrup, 1/2 ounce of maple syrup. You shake that up and then strain it into a coup glass, and then float 1 ounce of overproof rum on top of that, and then light that baby on fire, just like Burnout from Delinquent Comics. So that's the drink I created, inspired by the Death of Burnout, special by the character Burnout, created by Justin, who will be on the show in just a minute. His character's mentor. So that's the cocktail. The rule is, if you make this drink, you have to tell me about it. It's real good. I highly recommend trying it. If it's fun because it's on fire, you can skip that part if you want to. But it's real fun. It's real fun. It's basically a kind of grog. It's a good take on grog. The recipe card for this is already up on Twitter because I preset those to go live. So actually, because of our technical difficulties, it probably went live before I did. So it's up there. You can go on Twitter and find that recipe card, or go to allportsopen.com and go to our Discord, where I always post all of the drink recipes and everything on the there's a Discord channel for this show, Holy Happy or Batman. All right, so without further ado, let's bring on the cast. All right, folks. Sorry, I realized now you can hear me. I realized that I didn't get the audio going when we had to redo everything. But no, what is this one? So I'm sorry, folks. Just one more second. It's a weird night. We had all kinds of technical difficulties. I really apologize. One of these is it. There we go. All right. Hey, why don't you say hello to everybody, folks? Say hi. All of you.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go. I want to make sure they can hear you.
Hello.
All right, we don't have name tags yet on here because of the technical difficulties. We had to redo the whole overlay. So I'm just going to go around and introduce folks who people can see, and then the people that they can't see, and we'll just go that way. We have a special guest with us, not a normal Delinquent Comics cast member. The GM for the guest for the Death of Burnout, our guest GM, Caleb Sunstead. Caleb, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm fired up, dude. I'm fired up. I'm real sad I don't have rum right now after looking at this shit you posted. That's sad, but otherwise doing great. But whiskey will do, you know?
Whiskey will do.
I won't try it with whiskey. I'll get rum. I'll get rum. But thanks for inviting me. I'm real glad to be here.
You know, it'd be really interesting take on that drink actually to use like a rye, something that's like smoky, because it would kind of go with the whole like fire burnout thing. That might be interesting.
Okay, well, I will definitely pretend that I'm going to try that into the future, and
right.
I won't. Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said they expected you to dab. You didn't dab.
Come on. You know, that was late when it happened, right? It's way too late now. I only do it around 12-year-olds to make them cringe, you know?
I kind of want to see you dab, though.
Okay, what do we got? Nobody screenshot that. I swear to God, nobody screenshot that.
Quick,
okay?
clip it.
No one.
Clip it.
No one.
We've got some of our peer pressure for the win. We've got some of our regular Delinquent Comics cast here with us. We haven't done one of these Delinquent Comics streams in a while, but it's good to be on stream with you guys. We've got, let's see, we'll do Ashton Laurel, who plays Soul, or Lyra DeLuna is here. Hi, Ashton.
Hey, what is going on, Power Bottoms? Can I say that?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, great.
So normally this show is very holy because, you know, we talk about like faith and religion and all this stuff, but all bets are off on the Delinquent Comics take.
Coolio. I will.
It's actually usually not that holy, honestly. And we've got Justin, who plays Titan, aka Ryan, on Delinquent Comics. How's it going, Justin?
It's going all right. I don't know if I'm still having tech issues or not.
No, you look good. You sound good. Yeah, you're in. We've all had tech issues today. Well, that's actually not true. Caleb didn't. Caleb was here early. He was ready to rock and roll. Everything was set. He was a little worried about
lights.
Yeah, he was a little worried about his lighting.
I will take the blame for tech issues. It's not a Masks thing unless I'm the one that has issues with something.
Oh my gosh, this was seriously the most we've never had these kinds of tech issues on a Holy Happy Hour. It's crazy.
I am really.
It's
tempted to
Justin's
just refresh
curse.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
really tempted to refresh the browser to see if I can actually see all of y'all. Because other than that,
Don't do it.
I'm getting like a delayed
Don't.
twitch
Wait, so
on the
you
phone,
can't
and it's
see
just-
us?
Nope, it's all black screens. The only thing I can see is the Twitch on my phone, and that's delayed by like a minute.
Yeah.
I think that might just be that a pint glass of vodka you're drinking, Justin. But you know,
It's so funny because these tech issues, like earlier, I didn't see it till right now, but my wife was trying to watch, so she texted me and was like, "Did the show not start? Because all I see is the waiting for screen." Yeah, no, that's the kind of night that we're having here. And then we actually have another person here you can't see. We got our phantom voice. It's Sean, who plays 2 roles on Delinquent Comics, 3 really if you think about it. Sean plays plays Muse, and also our superhero Muse, and also does the announcer guy at the beginning of every episode. Sean, how are you? Sean?
I'm Muse.
ooh,
Disembodied voice.
Spooky Ben.
Spooky.
So we're gonna have a weird disembodied Sean voice during the stream.
I'm also the editor. Yeah, the editor and announcer guy and Muse. Yes, that's right.
So that's the
And
third
I also little known fact, I did voice Mr. Mayhem at one point as well.
That's right.
ooh.
We got to get your byline correct. You got who did the voice of the computer? I guess it was. Was
I
that
did.
that was you?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck.
It was Ben Affleck, actually.
It was. Ashley knows.
Cool. Yeah. Little
Yeah,
known
'cause
fact
it's-
about.
He didn't want to be credited. So.
It's like gosh dang, I'm blanking on his name.
Danny DeVito?
Favreau went on his roles in Elf. He didn't want to be credited for the narwhal.
Yeah.
Wait, who didn't?
Favreau.
Really?
He's the voice of the narwhal.
Hmm.
I did not know that.
Hmm.
Fascinating. All right, so let's talk about. We're here to talk about the death of Burnout. Wait, who became invisible?
No, we're fine.
Oh, okay. I saw in the chat someone became invisible, and I was like, "Are we having more tech difficulties?" Because it would make sense, honestly. Whew. Yeah. So this is like a very different thing from what Holy Happy Hour usually is, because we're talking about Delinquent Comics. We got a bunch of people on here. So yeah, we really we loved the death of Burnout. It was a blast to play. It's been. When did we actually record that special?
Ooh,
Sean?
Sean? That's the kind of
man.
detail Sean might not
I
remember.
think it was
actually.
sometime in September, maybe.
Was
Sometime
it that?
in September?
Was it that recently? I thought it was long. I thought it was longer than that.
June 2nd.
Really? Was it really June 2nd?
Wow.
Okay, wow.
That's crazy, but yeah, according to Discord.
That is
Wow.
nuts. So that's
It's-
just for
it's-
yeah.
That's
A
So-
lot longer than I thought.
So
Same.
that is how long, folks, it was between like when we recorded it and when you heard it, which meant that most of us forgot every detail of it, except for how awesome it was. Probably including
Yeah.
Caleb, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been really a lot of it's really burned into my mind. Like it's one of those sessions where like I think you play RPGs for where you finish it and you just can't stop thinking about it for days.
Yeah.
So I remember the broad strokes, but man, I'm not sure if I'm not going to remember jokes, which is great because then you get 2 shots of them, right? You can use a joke twice. It's good.
Exactly.
But yeah, I remember just, man, it was such a blast. It looks like I sent you a message 3 days after and was like, I can't stop thinking about that game.
I know, and you said that, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm glad that you said that because like that's 100% how like what it's been like for me." So like I was like, "Okay, we're on the same page." I couldn't stop thinking about it afterward. So yeah, I don't know. We wanted to break it down a little bit and talk about it. I have questions for like Caleb about like after re-listening, but I don't know what. I guess what are the rest of the cast? How did you all feel about that special? Someone's gonna beatbox. Yeah, someone said break it down. Which one of you beatboxes?
Not me.
I'm not doing it on stream. I'll say that.
You already dabbed. You might as well go for it.
Okay, yeah, you got me. You got me.
Well, Sean, you edited the thing, so you've heard it the most times. Like, what are your feelings about Death of Burnout? What was your initial impression, and then your after sort of thoughts?
So I remember a lot of it being kind of just building up in the beginning, and really kind of trying to figure out this new villain. I think you were really trying, Caleb, to figure out what's this group, what's the dynamic and everything, and then we just had I think where we had this shift was when we had the teleportation chain, and we had kind of the different scenes there, and I think right after that, I think is really where we kind of hit the stride of where the plot really kind of took off and went in a couple places that I think maybe not everyone was expecting it to go. That really was exciting. I think one of the big moments that stood out that I thought worked so well that you had kind of no idea, Caleb, was where Deja Vu.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta say it right. It's Deja
takes,
Vu.
Yeah, Deja Vu takes Titan to his home with his parents.
Oh yeah.
And that was just so huge. And I think from maybe Justin's perspective, you can give us a little bit of what that was like. But to me, that was kind of this really neat, perfect offshoot that really kind of enhanced our story, even though it was kind of away from the main story in kind of a splinter. What was your motivation, or what was your motivation, Caleb, for that power? Because you made that up, right? You wrote that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Masks book was a really fun read, and they just, they're like, hey, make these powers that are unique to this hero. And I think I just made one, or this villain, and I think I just made one that was take them to a place or a thing that they love and threaten it, right? Which is always a thing that is fun to do in stories, but it's so easy when you have a teleporting character or a time traveling character, So I think that was it. And it just happened to be that character, that wasn't premeditated or anything. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out, because I didn't even know what your family situation was, Justin, right? You were just like, oh yeah, this is where we go to, right? I was like, hey, am I remembering this wrong, Sean? Where it was like, hey, let's teleport you to somewhere that you care about more than anything in the world, or something like that.
That's where you said for that power or that thing, it was the place that in the last 48 hours, that is your safe place or something like that. And as soon as you said that, and as you can hear on the podcast, I covered my face on that. I was like, no. We cannot go there. We cannot. That's the one place I want no hero stuff to ever happen.
Well, I didn't realize we were sort of threatening your secret identity too. I didn't really think about that, or at least just getting your family involved in it in a way that you don't want them to be, I was expecting oh, we're going to go break your room or something, that was really fun. That was dope.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I remember both when it happened and listening to it again was thinking about how, Caleb, you didn't know the stakes, right? Because you're not our normal GM. You didn't. So you say oh, what's this one place? And you can hear it in Justin's voice. And those of us who play with Justin all the time, we knew what it was. We know the answer. He knows the answer, and he hates the answer. And we know the stakes, but you didn't even know the stakes until he said them. And the way it plays out, if people listen to the audio, you can kind of hear all that play out in a matter of seconds, in Justin's voice, as it's happening. That is truly an epic moment from
as the character, I hated it, but as a player, I loved that.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
I will say, so that makes me think of something. I do want to hear like Ashton's sort of overall thoughts about but before I forget to say it, I will say the one thing about this that we can kind of circle back to this. The one thing about it is because the story of Death of Burnout took place as a flashback, like it's before all the events of Forge of Fortitude and Vega Rising, our two main arcs. Any repercussions from it's hard to build. There are things that re-listening to it, I'm like, man, I wish I had built on that. I wish I see some movement back there. Is that a cat? That is a big cat.
That's a dog.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's a dog. See if we can.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
World's biggest cat. But yeah, because it was a flashback. You know what I mean? Like, it was hard to build off the. There are things I wish that I could have, like, built ramifications into the story from things that happened in Death of Burnout. That some of them still might, but like. Yeah, the timing of like recording versus when people hear it and all that stuff just meant that there was. Can I
ask a question?
Yeah.
So you came to me and you were like, "Hey, run this game," and my immediate reaction was, "I don't know how to run a game without like the characters, right? So who are these characters?" And you all were very gracious and generous and open with, "Oh yeah, do whatever you want."
Oh yeah,
right. And I was like, well, that kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah. Because
otherwise it's just going to be a useless sort of filler story arc. And I don't like that, you know? And I'm not super invested, you know? I think I'm halfway through the show and I love it, but I'm not a player in this game. You know, I get to throw my hand in it, set fire to it and run away. In hindsight, how do you feel about proposing to another GM, hey, do whatever you want with this game for a session? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I have zero regrets in the sense that like it added tons of positive stuff to our world. Like, I mean, and unfortunately he's not here. Connor's not here. Our other cast member, I should have said that, White Knight. But like the biggest outcome involves his character, right? But like I think we're all super happy that happened and came out in the story, and it added this whole dimension to it. Just fleshed out Burnout, it fleshed out Black Knight, it fleshed out like, you know, all these dynamics in such a freaking cool way. It added so much to the White Knight character that he didn't even know about. So like I love all of that. I think it probably takes the right GM. Like I feel like you did the perfect balance. Like you nailed it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if anything, what I learned was like I got to make sure I'm careful about doing that, because if it's not the right person, it could go badly. The only downside is like there's so many cool things that we could have built on if I had known they were in our world, but it was a flashback episode. So
right.
That's it. There's just like cool shit that I'm like, oh, I wish I could have. I wish I had known about that earlier in like actual chronological order. But that's what happens when you. I also didn't have to tell you to do a flashback, right? Like I could have been like, you're going to come in, Caleb, and you're going to do something in the present. But I didn't. I gave you the hard task of being like, I want you to do this a year before the current events of the story. So you can do whatever you want, but don't fuck it up too much. Because like, you know. So, you know, I don't know.
Cool.
Well, Ashton, what are you, before we move on too far from this, like what were your overall sort of thoughts about Death or Burnout?
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like for the end of the first episode, when like everything was being revealed, I had to take my dog to the bathroom, so I didn't get to hear any of that. So like, so I came back. Yeah, I came back like before the beginning. Like you guys were already on your break when I came back, and I was like, what just happened? and you guys were like, okay. And so like I got what it was, but listening back to it, I was so excited to be like, oh, I get to like hear what's going on, and I'm not just, you know, I'm not just guessing. I think it was very accurate though, because I don't think Soul would have listened that much. You know, I don't think she would have completely understood or cared enough. So
yeah,
so it just helped you be in character.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ashton, you're saying you had like a Muse moment when Sean had that full-on speech in the hospital.
Yeah.
But we were all about the Pizza Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, for context, Caleb, that's at the end of the Forge of Fortitude arc, like the very last thing that happens in that. It's like this whole emotional hospital scene, and we're recording, and like Sean recorded this whole long monologue, but we couldn't hear him. so he would like do this whole monologue, and we thought he was just not answering. So like we moved on and like and did this big goof off like thing, and then Sean came back and was like, "Wait, no, you guys didn't hear any of that? I just gave this like heartfelt monologue."
Oh no, dude! Wow. Well, what can you do? You know, what can you do?
He just recorded.
Hey, at least it got recorded.
Exactly.
Hey, at least it got recorded.
True.
Yeah. And the listeners don't know that, except for we love to tell that story. So wait, Ashton, which part did you miss when you took the dog out?
It was like as soon as we walked in and Temporal Twister was his name, I think.
Oh, in that part.
Yeah,
Okay.
like that whole thing of what was going on there.
Gotcha.
I just had no idea coming back in. You guys gave me like a basic rundown, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just jump right in.
Man, there's so many parts of this we could talk about right now. I don't even know like where to dig into.
Will we start with the cover then?
What, the cover? Yeah, that was amazing. Your cover description at the start of that episode. Did you like pretty much have exactly what you're going to say there down, or was that kind of off the cuff?
Nah, that was off the cuff.
Really?
I don't. Yeah, I feel like
It's so good.
I like doing prep, right? I feel like I just do prep for the things I'm worst at. And I used to do a lot of prep for descriptions. And now I think I'm pretty good at it. So I just kind of like assume that Caleb at the table will figure it out. And then sometimes I'll think about it. Like I'm sure I thought about it, but I don't think I wrote anything out for it or anything. Plus, it's kind of fun, you know, to sort of visualize that stuff at the table and you say something and you just follow it, which I think is part of the reason RPGs are so like stressful and anxiety driven to me, is because you're just like, I hope that I'm going to say one word and then be able to follow it up with a word after it and then follow it up with a word after, you know, and you just don't know until you start talking, you know. It's wild.
Yeah, I definitely, I guess now that I hear you describe it, I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. I used to write down descriptions for like when we started doing Delinquent Comics, and like the very first, like the first few issues we did of like for Apon Plays, I think I wrote down like my opening descriptions, and now I will think about it beforehand, and that's about it. You know what I mean? And I have an idea in my head, but then what happens is I go back and listen, and I hear myself say things, and I'm like, oh, why did I say that?
I did really like the idea of starting it with, here's this pre-established character everybody knows is alive in the current timeline. None of you except Ben has met me before, and I'm just going to come in and describe a cover about this NPC dead. And I don't know, that felt very... I don't know. That felt interesting to me. I thought that would be a good hook of, how does he die? Or I don't know. Did that make you guys... Sorry.
Oh
no, go ahead. Ask your question, please.
What was the effect of that as y'all as players? Did it make you distrust me? Was it beneficial? You know, like I'm curious for the future if I do that stuff again.
Well, you prefaced all of that with like, hey, just trust me with this.
Yeah, you kept saying, just trust me. I'm not going to fuck it up too bad, I promise.
You kept saying, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I will say, it threw me off the entire session, and it was perfect because it helped play into the character more. As we started the session into the transition of finding Temporal Twister, and then into the finale of it.
So real quick, just for folks on stream, if you don't know, so Justin's character, Titan, his mentor is Burnout. So Burnout is a character that is an NPC that Justin created. It's kind of part of his character, I guess, in a sense, being that it's like kind of essential to your playbook. And then in the opening scene of Death of Burnout, the first thing Caleb describes as a front page where he's dead, or he's like, you know, something's protruding from his chest and he's dead. So just for context, that's what we're talking about here. I would say, like, yeah, because you prefaced it so hard for us, like, you trust me, that I was like, well, he's got some trick up his sleeve. And then I was like, so what's that gonna be? You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to see where that goes. What's that gonna be? Were you nervous at all about pulling it off? Like, as in, like, it's a little risky, right, to like start out with the ending.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, man, that whole thing was really nerve-wracking to me. I mean, yeah, I was anxiety ridden for days before, which is probably why it was such a huge rush to like pull it off. And also, like, the ending worked out so well, and it wasn't what I imagined at all. And we just like White Knight sort of made this whole ending occur that was beautiful and perfect and wrapped up in a nice little box, and it all made sense because I wasn't sure how we were going to get there, you know. I don't even know what my original idea was because the end of the session was just so good.
That's what I was going to eventually ask you, like, not to jump to the end of the episode, but now you just said you don't know the answer. I was going to ask you, like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, how did you expect it to resolve?
I think we were just gonna do a flashback somehow, right? Or we could have done some deja vu nonsense, or, you know, I would have figured it out. It'd be fine. You know, that's a problem for the table. That's a problem.
Play to find out.
I like to leave these really huge problems on the table for like future me to figure out, because it's more fun that way, you know.
Well, honestly, Caleb, that's a lot of trust in the table too, that you hadn't sat down with, too. You know, that's a lot. You know,
yeah, true.
You're asking everybody to, you know, figure that out too, when you don't know exactly if we've got, you know, kind of bullets in our gun to be able to do that too. You know, that's got to be stressful as well. But I feel like probably once we got into it, I think we were feeling rhythm, playing off of each other pretty well, I felt like. So
absolutely, it was a blast.
Probably more confident after we got into it for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You get in that Zen state, right? You get into that Zen state where nothing matters but the game, you know? I love that state. It's great.
Well, I think it's too, like, when you have players that can say, like, hey, I have this, would that help you with your story? You know? You know, or, you know, I have, you know, this idea, what do you think? You know, where you can play it off of each other. And I know, like, you've left in some table talk on, like, you know, Crows, where it's something like that too, you know, where it's like you're working it out as a table, you know. And, like, I think if your table has that philosophy, it makes for better stories, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I tend just not to play with people but kind of in these days of RPGs, it seems like that's the standard philosophy, or how am I trying to say that? Like, most people are really generous and gracious, and everybody is a lot more aware of it's a team game than the people I was playing with growing up, it seems like. And that shift is really nice. And yeah, I put a lot of trust in you guys, but, you know, it worked out. And, you know, I think whenever I play with, you can sort of tell the table by how much I'm talking, right? You know, so if I'm like, the less I talk, the better, right?
That's my number one GM philosophy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Maybe it's my number two. I think that my number one GM philosophy is saying yes. And then my number two philosophy is, like, what you said about and saying yes, by the way, again, not going to spoil anything, but in the episode of Delinquent Comics that launched today, you know, that's like I think I can say
it's a big theme.
It's a big theme. I was going to say, I think I can say, is it a spoiler if I say the line Ashton said? Is that a spoiler?
No, because I think you mentioned it on one of your other Holy Happy Hour Batman streams with another guest. That's
true. So Ashton, go ahead. Do you want to give us your line? Do you remember what you said, right?
Yeah, I just said, how badly do you want me to fuck your shit up?
Let me think about that. Yes, always.
It was like real bad. I was like, you can't, because the answer is right, Caleb. The answer is like you can't fuck my shit up. Like that's my answer to my players. Is like, there's no way you can. Like whatever you do is the magic. That's what I want. I want whatever you're gonna do, and then we'll play off of that together. And there was definitely huge vibes of that during the Death of Burnout stuff. Like, you wanted to know what we were gonna do, and then playing off of that, and you obviously had your story beats. You had your By the way, okay, can you tell us about the inspiration for Deja Vu, please?
Oh my gosh!
Was it my high school notebook?
I think I just came up with the name, and it was too good not to do it. I was just watching Queen's Gambit for a second time, I think, and the sort of Bobby Fischer surrogate in that show is just this ridiculous looking cowboy that thinks he looks super cool and is not at all. And then once I had the like that look and the Deja Vu name, I was like, okay, what can I do with that? Okay, he's like a movie buff, which I didn't use at all, which is fine. And then I just started like brainstorming stuff with my Discord. Actually, I just started brainstorming like, hey, what do we think about this idea? I think I ran it by a few other people, but also I'd love time travel, and I never get to do time travel, so it was fun to get somebody with those powers, and then having the teleportation is just such an easy story tool. Having a bunch of, what are they called in mirror image? What is that in superhero terms? Duplicates? Duplication.
Yeah.
And that just seemed like a fun way to like, instead of a bunch of minions, we could just have the same character yelling at you from everywhere. That's super fun too, right? So yeah, I think Queen's Gambit and then a bunch of problem solving, right? Of like, who is this person?
One of my favorite lines though is when you're like describing the vape, and then you're like, it's a vape, guys. He's vaping. And then Ashton just goes, so cool. Yeah, Ashton goes, oh, so he's cool. That's like one of my favorite lines in the whole thing.
I didn't remember I said that. I was very happy with that when I listened.
It's a good line.
Caleb, you also pulled off one of the rejected Josie Wells lines too, with the "you're gonna skin that cat" or something other.
Oh yeah, the Tombstone line. You gonna skin that smoke wagon or just stand there and bleed? That line. Oh, what a line! Wow,
so good. He's such a ridiculous villain, right? Like, but also like terrifying. So I think kind of scary in the sense that like I felt like we were kind of outmatched, and like he was a couple steps ahead of us in like literally like in like a bunch of different ways. And like when he just vanishes and in the like the chemical plant, like, you know what I mean, like he's just gone. Yeah, that was kind of like, I don't know how you guys felt as players. Like I'm usually not even, maybe part of it's because usually I'm the GM, but I felt so powerless like in that situation to do anything about it.
Speaking of characters, Ben, your character.
Yeah.
Catalyst,
yes.
They were great.
Is there a question?
No,
it's like,
your character.
Basically, like, the inspiration behind that, and then just having actually playing with you is fun instead of the normal.
Instead of normally when I hate it when you GM. Yeah.
Well, was it weird? Was it weird for you guys, or like for me to slip from the GM role to like being a player?
Oh, it felt fine to me. Sorry, I'll stop. We can move on. Somebody else answer.
I mean, it wasn't too weird. I think. No, I don't think it was that weird. I think because we've done. Maybe because I have played with you like as Leo a lot, it wasn't too different. Like I feel like you've done so many NPCs that are so close to us.
Yeah.
I mean, like my baby boy Chives, fucking love that guy. So it was Choves, yeah. So I mean,
Choves.
Yeah. I mean,
alternate
Caleb,
universe.
Do you understand Chives now? Chives love.
I lost my shit at that when I listened to it. So I don't know who said it. Someone said he just has a goatee.
I think it was Justin, wasn't it?
To me.
That was Ben.
It was
you.
No, that was Ben. That was you.
Is it like I asked if he was a relative or a cousin or non-related, Connor said it was just a doppelganger, and you're like, and he has a goatee.
Choves has to come back on the show. You gotta figure some way to work Choves back in. Oh my gosh.
Well, he's always in the Olive Garden.
Yeah, he goes there every day.
He doesn't make his own bread. He only buys bread.
Oh my God.
He gets it to go. He gets breadsticks to go from Olive Garden.
I forgot how funny that was.
Oh my God. Oh, so speaking of all one of my other favorite things that happened in Death of Burnout was the and I turned it into a like commercial montage, but the White Knight Caleb, this was the thing where I thought was just so brilliant. I was like, I want to think like this as a GM, was when you invited Connor to describe the scenes of him teleporting through the city to get to the cave, the volcano.
That was cool. That was a cool sequence.
That was one of my
Connor's
favorite.
so good at that too.
I know.
Ugh.
He really is. Yeah, I like that. I want to think like that. You know what I mean? As a GM, I want to like think to invite my players to do those sorts of things.
Oh, well, say more. What do you mean? Say more.
Yeah, when I was re-listening to it, I just thought like, I don't know if I would have thought to like, instead of just skipping to the action, do you know what I mean? Like you could have just instantly skipped us to where the action was, which was the volcano base. But instead you stopped, slowed down, and were like, yeah, tell us what that's like. Like, can you give us a few like scenes of what are the everyday life of Halcyon City that you kind of bamf through? And like just like slowing down to do that, it just invited like, and it handed the narrative reins over to Connor. So again, talking about trust, like that's a huge amount of trust, right? But then like, yeah, it just created such a really cool sequence of moments that comedy, like stuff that wouldn't have been there, you know?
Yeah, we had the Olive Garden thing with the server. We had the harpy on the roof, right? Fighting, what was the bull figure? It doesn't matter.
It matters to us. It's the bronze bovine.
The bronze bovine. Yeah. I think I stole that from James D'Amato, where he just asked people all the time, like, what does it look like? Or rather, I really love pointed questions now, where like in my notes, right? If I write notes, I have notes that are like, this is dilapidated, used to be a nunnery or something, right? And then you can just ask one of the players, how do you know this used to be a nunnery? And it like establishes it without you saying anything about it. And then they get a lot of investment in the scene and in the location. And meanwhile, you don't have to do any work. You know, it's like a win. I love it. But maybe that's also just a habit from Crows, because they're so good about answering questions when I ask them shit like that. I love it.
Yeah, I just gotta remind myself to do that more, because I love it, and not just Connor. Like honestly, you all are the rest of the cast is really good at that stuff.
You love being the afterthought, don't you? That's great. Like, yeah, Connor. Everybody else is good.
Because we were talking about how he did such a good job. Because Ashton, you said he's really good. He really is.
Yeah,
he's not here, so we can compliment him.
I think he's really good at going from like being super goofy to being super super serious.
Oh,
and like he'll drop just like the rawest lines, like. What did he say? Like, it's not a legacy, it's a family or something. Yes. It was like that. I was like, holy shit. Like that, I could never do that. Like I'm all goofs most of the time. So like, that destroyed me in the moment.
It destroyed me in the moment. And that's why I think we all walked away from that session being like, this session was nuts but hearing it again afterward, like I actually teared up when I re-listened to it for the first time, like the fully edited version, when he said that, when he was like, Black Knight's not just a legacy, it's a family. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It gives me chills.
Yeah. Destroyed me.
Yeah. I mean, like that's definitely a huge part of why I think we got questions coming in the chat.
Yeah, that was, Benny just posted one of two for their first questions. And then the next one's a GM question.
Okay, well, let's do the first question here. Something that I find really so Inventor Benny, hi, thanks for being here. Something that I find really interesting about the whole show is how many time jumps there are. It fits with the genre very well, but I feel like as a player I would have trouble keeping in character with all the jumping around, especially if I had already had some character development for the players. So here you go. Is this something you found difficult? And if so, do you have any strategies for keeping your characterization in mind?
That's a good question.
So, you want to go, Ashton?
No.
Okay, Sean. If I can go.
Oh yeah, I think I can take that one. Yeah, I mean I can take it. I think a lot of it is just kind of having a semi timeline in my head about what my relationships are with the other characters, and Mass does that like up front with your character creation. Really kind of gives you good questions to set those up. So you kind of go in knowing, what a little bit of what your history was. So kind of fulfilling that, in the moment is kind of what I did. Keeping everything straight is more of the issue, I think, of like, okay, well, what does my character know now that they don't know, at whatever time we are. But other than that, I think knowing the relationships between you and your other teammates, I think is probably the part that is what you need to keep together to make things, align.
Do you guys do either of you have anything else to add to that about how you think about it?
Like basically it'd be mirroring what Sean said, and then the biggest test that kind of helped me is whenever we did the Sunset Island saga, because that was all before everything in Forge of Fortitude. And when you started off, like, oh yeah, here's Chives. I don't know. And I was like, I don't know him. Oh yeah, but it was just like it's just the mindset. And again, reflecting what Sean said about it. It's just you got to kind of have a general timeline in your head, and then how your feelings are towards the people at that time, and just go with that.
I think I cheated because I have like I take notes sometimes, not all the time. I'm not a nerd, but yeah, I mean it's like important things, like only the important things. I'll write like 2 things a session, But I think
this and then send him a photo of that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's nothing. I lied. It's nothing important. It's just the funny bits that I want to say later.
Go-to.
Yeah.
What happened in that session? Choves.
That Choves. Yeah, and so like for me, I have like notes that are like, this is from this session, and then all I need to do is be like, do I know about this session? And if not, you could just throw the notes away for that session. So I'm cheated. I'm cheating because I'm constantly on so much anxiety medication that I have short-term memory loss.
Oh yeah.
So that's
pro life tip.
Yeah, honestly, it's great. So yeah, I think that's how I do it.
So the other
also,
half...
I don't know about my conditions. Like I get Soul especially gets so many conditions every session that even if we don't have a time jump, my first question is always, oh God, what are my conditions? Like, do I still have the same conditions?
Yeah. So the other half of the question is the GM part of it, which is how is prep different for a session that takes place before previous sessions? Well, that was probably different for you altogether, Caleb, because you hadn't run for this group before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I just did my thing. We talked a lot about stuff, but I couldn't give any specific tips. I mean, I did do some of that stuff on my show, but I'm not sure I prepped it super differently. Mostly I would probably try to place it in different areas with different characters, which like you've kind of done. And also you'll probably get the benefit of it being superheroes, right? Of it being a comic, of like, it's almost expected in the comic format that nothing is linear, right? There's issues being released all the time that are all over the place, you know? And if continuity's a little bit off, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
exactly. That's definitely how I feel about it. And like, almost you want to lean into that to get that comic book feel to it, I think. So people also have to remember that. So we did Forge of Fortitude. That was our first arc. So like we walked away with like a certain feeling about these characters and their relationships at the end of that. And then immediately we did a flashback, but like we didn't need to know a whole lot, right? Like all you guys had to know was like you hadn't really formed yet as a group. So you were like more mean to each other because you didn't really like each other. You weren't super happy that you had to be together at that point. And that was basically like what we knew. But we also knew like what we were trying to build towards, which was the beginning of Forge of Fortitude. It was like, okay, well that's where we're going to try to get to. Like kind of get to the relationships that are in that. So that was super easy. And then this was a little easier in the sense I think because it was like your work, like all you had to know for this, I think, was like, okay, we're working together at this point. Like we're a team, we do team stuff together. And like, I don't know if it was too much, if it was too much more that we needed to know for this than that. I do wish Connor was here super badly so we could like pick Connor's brain about like dropping his dad right into the end of it. Like, I really wish we could have asked him about that, but just feeling like, oh, that's got to speak to like leaving holes in your own character like history, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, Ben, on the Connor's dad thing, some of that was a little bit of a discussion that Connor and I had after a session. I can't remember which one it was, but normally after a session we'll do a debrief in the regular Discord, just talking about and brainstorm. That's how we got the timeline for the Black Knight and Burnout that we have in our notes and everything that's going on to that the Google Drive.
So that's a good point, I guess, for fans of the show to know, is that tons of the lore of Delinquent Comics comes up because I go to bed and everybody else stays up after we run sessions, and they come up with like all this stuff, and then later I'll be like, I don't know what they're talking about. Create characters, and it just eventually gets into the world of our show, which is much bigger than what we've even seen, heard, I guess, you know, or seen in issue or heard it in the episodes. Which is why we want to do the comic strips, which we plan to eventually do. Not to out Justin live on the show, but I think actually that might have been the announcement. I think I might have just announced that for the first time by accident.
Yeah, it's cool because Danny DeVito does all the drawings for it, so you can really look forward to that.
You didn't want to be credited though, so like.
That's the joke. You made it. Thanks. Good backup.
Now I gotta draw a little egg-shaped Danny DeVito in all the scenes now.
Oh God!
No,
I would appreciate that so much.
He's gonna be the Neo Penguin now.
Oh my God!
Zuko didn't like that, so I guess that would work.
Scared me.
Zuko did not like that joke. It's just like.
So I guess Danny DeVito can't be in our comic strips.
I have a pretty important question for Ashton. Ashton, like, how offended were you that Deja Vu didn't have a crush on you, or didn't like indicate at all that he had a crush on you and your character?
Well, okay. Ben and I did talk about this because I don't think that Soul ever registers that someone has a crush on her.
Yeah.
I think,
it's my favorite part about it. It really
like,
is.
There's a good amount of people who do, and I think it's very obvious to everyone but Soul. But I play her as someone who is like so used to being fawned over and is just like expects it so much from everyone, no matter what. So she can't really tell the difference if someone's like her fan or if they genuinely are interested in her.
People.
Yeah, it's yeah. I just think she has a very warped reality of relationships, which is a little dark, but yeah.
Dang, that's cool.
I did I actually answer the question about Catalyst? I don't think I did. Did I like
No.
get out of answering it? I
Yeah,
didn't mean
you
to
got
do
out of
that.
answering it.
We can hold that thought because in like 2 minutes or so, we're gonna have to like a little shift here because Ashton has to go prep for the next stream that I'm gonna bring you all into at 9 p.m. Which is, you want to just real quick tell everybody on why they should come and watch you play at 9 in the next stream?
I am playing a character where I just get to use my Kim Kardashian impression. So
On a pirate ship.
On a pirate ship. I'm Kim Kardashian on a pirate ship.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's really good. I think we're gonna steal a ship. So Kim, if you're out there, this one's for you.
Kim is watching your stream right now, actually.
Oh my God, Kim!
Yeah.
Just like how we got Pink to do that one thing.
Yeah, Pink was on our show.
Yeah. We're just learning about
I'll
all
be right
this,
back.
all the uncredited cameos.
Yeah, like no one wants to be credited. It's just because like they love doing like the cameo stuff, and it's
It's for the art, you know.
It's
Just
for the
love
art.
The craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put up the "Be Right Back" screen for just like a minute, so folks don't go anywhere because I promise it'll be super fast this time.
Oh, man.
Unlike at the beginning of the show, I promise it'll be super fast this time. And then I'm gonna just bring us back with a fresh new look, a hot new take on this.
Wow.
Ashton, thank you for taking the time to join us for this, though.
Heck yeah, man.
Thank you, Ashton. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out.
All right,
Bye.
so hold on, let me
Okay.
All right, yeah. And we're back with our very fancy no overlay. You like this? It's meant to be like artistic.
Yeah.
Minimalist. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito created it.
Exactly. Exactly. Little known fact, Danny
Didn't want to be
DeVito.
credited.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be, yeah, exactly. Little known fact, Danny
Just
DeVito
loves
creates
the craft.
overlays for Twitch in his spare time. In the chat. So, okay, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know what Inventor Benny's talking about. You said, "Oh, is this a new thing, or do I have to get caught up?"
The
first?
comics.
Oh, that's what it was a
And
reference
I
to.
do have a question from Connor that I asked him earlier,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that would be at the very end or if that would be a now sort of question.
Well, I don't know what the question is, so I guess go ahead.
Okay, so Caleb, Connor was asking if the timeline wasn't kept safe and all that jazz, how would the new timeline look? Or it would probably, that color goes into the ending that you may or may not have.
Oh God. Yeah, that's just a brain experiment, isn't it? Well, he wanted to get rid of Burnout, right?
No, he wanted to save Burnout, right?
Oh, I'm not sure I have a good answer. I don't know.
He was trying to save, he made a mistake and Burnout fired him for that mistake because he ended up making it to where White Knight's dad got killed instead of Burnout.
Right.
So I guess the
Burnout
mistake
hated
was
or
just
kinda
killing.
hated him for that.
Yeah, it was just killing White Knight's dad, right? So I guess so that's really interesting, right? So like I think that in order to undo, my impression was that he just wanted to keep White Knight's dad from dying, so that he both saved Burnout, and didn't make the mistake that got him fired, so he could continue to be, the protege.
Right. Man, I don't know. I honestly have no clue. I didn't put any thought into it. What do you guys have a good answer for that? Do you have thoughts and feelings?
Titan probably wouldn't be a thing anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that's definitely true. Oh my God.
Well, more than likely, Soul probably wouldn't have been. Well, she might have also been mentored by Burnout later, maybe or maybe not.
Yeah.
And then White Knight probably wouldn't be White Knight.
Yeah, maybe he'd be a Black Knight. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, pretty much 75% of our team would have been affected by it.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really consider the repercussions of a time traveling character.
Well, I guess you don't know how it'll happen, but you expect the heroes are going to win, right? That's also baked into the genre.
Yes, absolutely.
That would have put us in a really cool storyline, like for like a Flashpoint sort of thing, with memories fading in and out of the alternate timeline, or like of the original timeline.
I do like that as an idea of showing up to someone else's game and going, great. So I ran this session that means none of the other sessions you did happen. So figure it out, figure it out. You said I could do anything. Okay.
I honestly love that you just took it and ran with it. The idea was like, do whatever you want with this. And you're like, oh, I'm going to be bold. Like, I just love that. I love it. I would love to do more like one-offs like this with other guest GMs, and I expected you to be like the first of several that we're going to try to line up. And I talked to other people that didn't really work out timing-wise. But actually, what I think we kind of learned, and interested, Sean maybe can comment on this from an editor perspective, but like, is that like it's almost too hard to do that because like it takes so long for our story to unfold. Normally, we release every other week, so like the pacing is hard to pull off. So like so Caleb, we had this whole conversation like between us as a cast of when to release the Death of Burnout, like for our listeners. So it was like, in the main story, and this is a spoiler from a couple weeks ago if people aren't caught up on the show. Sorry. Before the Death of Burnout came out, Burnout got shot in the chest in the regular timeline.
Oh yeah.
And I was like to the cast, I'm like, we should after that happens, the next episode after that should be the Death of Burnout. And then people will like see the name, think it's, we'll get them in that they'll be like, oh no, Burnout died. But also because I think that it's relevant to like the dynamic of the group with and the relationship with Burnout, that all of that happened in the flashback, that they know Burnout almost died but didn't, and that a mentor, one of his like proteges, was kind of involved in that. I thought all those dynamics were important too, in this like Burnout near death scene. So we had this whole discussion about when to release it. But yeah, Sean, I don't know if you have thoughts about that from a timing perspective.
So the counterpoint to that is with your releasing things bi-weekly, that means you put almost 2 months between when you can first hear Burnout getting shot and when we find the resolution to that.
Yeah, today's episode.
Today's episode.
Right.
So and then trying to take a 4-hour recording session that was the Death of Burnout and trying to filter that down into 2 episodes. It was rough because it's 2 90-minute episodes where we could really, with that kind of content, could almost have made it a 4-part series rather than 2. We could have easily had 4 that turn into 4 episodes easily. So about work versus how amount of time we're having the audience wait for a cliffhanger versus how cool the story is, versus how long are people actually going to sit and listen to an episode. 90 minutes is probably getting around the max or even over for a lot of people to be able to contribute. or to be able to invest. So I was trying to think about a lot of that stuff too, when we were trying to make the decision, at the same time.
I think I wouldn't have minded as a guest GM. I don't know how other people would feel, but if you literally handed people, hey, here's a plot I want you to run and run it, and just sort of feign ignorance until the point where you don't have to because it's gone off the rails. Like, I don't know, that could be kind of interesting, and it'll let you do it in the current timeline. And if it goes too far, just go, hey, stop, pause the game. Let's not do what we're doing right now,
Or just a premise, maybe like, here's a premise for an episode. Can you kind of run this like premise and, take the ball and run with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I realized after I asked you to do it, kind of thinking about it a lot, was like, yeah, that's kind of a lot to ask a guest GM. Like, hey, come in with no information about our show and like take over for a session. That's kind of a scary big ask, right? So giving people some sort of, I don't know, helping hand along the way to do it is probably a good thing.
Right. Yeah. And you can get what you want out of it, right? You can go, hey, Vega, run with it. Here's what we need to establish, Anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but just throwing it out there,
Yeah.
Future ideas.
Yeah, no, that's good. And like, it is something I still want to do, but the timing of it is, with how fast the show releases, like we said, makes it kind of hard. But doing it in the main timeline, like you said, like being able to like throw somebody a pitch and like, but it doesn't take us out of the main timeline. It would also allow me to play Catalyst again, which I still haven't actually answered the question about Catalyst. But I did enjoy the opportunity to play. So Caleb, thank you. As actually the first time I ever played Masks. You're my only Masks GM.
Wow, it's incredible.
Because I've only been a GM and not a player. How did I come up with Catalyst? I wish I remembered. I kind of had this character in my head. I really wanted to play them. I really like Catalyst as a character. Like, it was almost like a self-expression. I was like, I want to like, all my characters are some sort of self-expression. I feel like in some level, when I play characters, and so it's just like, I wanted to play this aspect. I wanted to like kind of birth out into the world this aspect of me and this character. The brain was definitely, I'm trying to remember why I picked the brain, but I was drawn to that playbook. It was not from the core book. It's from an expansion. So it was like, there's a lot of playbooks from the core book we don't have on our show, but it was sort of a way to kind of get outside. As soon as I read the brain, I was like, that's the playbook. That's the one I want to play. I'm trying to think of what else worth saying about Catalyst. Like, I have plans for Catalyst in the future as a GM, like as an NPC, that we haven't really gotten to work back into. I think, has it gotten mentioned, Justin? Have they been mentioned? I can never remember what's in my head and what's been on the show.
So we talked about Catalyst a few times out of session. I think it was mentioned once in session as a reference on trying to go visit them with some of the stuff that was happening.
Okay. I couldn't remember because like I said, this is my problem. My problem is I have headcanon. I don't know how this works for you, Caleb, but I have headcanon, and then I forget what's headcanon and what's actual canon.
Oh, shoot. Mostly I just forget everything. That's my strategy.
That's also my problem.
It's my secret cap. I'm always forgetting.
I'm not going to lie. Sometimes they'll mention characters by name, and I won't remember who they're talking about, and I have to just pretend like I do know who they're talking about.
Well, Ben, that brings us back to a session I think before the death of Burnout, when we were recording, there was like where are my notes? Wait, why didn't I take notes in this session?
I know.
What happened?
Yeah. If there's any other questions folks have, feel free to drop them because we got a couple minutes left here before we hit 9.
I have a question for Caleb.
Yeah.
How did you like running this system?
Yeah, great. I meant to ask about that too.
So I actually ran it for the Deadlands Boys that will come out eventually. We did it for some Patreon content, and their reaction to it was interesting, and they had some good criticisms of it. I think from my perspective of it, it's really easy to run. Like, it's very intuitive. You know what you're doing going forward. But I found that I'm trying to say this nicely. I think I'll just say it meanly. I found that with most of the sessions that run, it just felt like I was cheating. And I felt the same way with Blades in the Dark, where it just sort of felt like the outcome of the story like was just kind of what I wanted it to be instead of spinning out of the mechanics. But it didn't feel that way in The Death of Burnout. The Death of Burnout, I played this and I went, wow, I love this. And then I played it with the Deadlands boys and it didn't feel that way. So I'm not sure if that's a product of playing with them. But I would like to play it more. I played Blades in the Dark a lot too, which felt very similar to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
That's really interesting because one of the most foundational underlying philosophies of anything empowered by the apocalypse is play to find out, right? Like that's the whole basis of Powered by the Apocalypse is that like you can't cheat. It's all spinning off of what happens in the game, and in Masks, I think specifically like you see this in like the idea is one thing should build onto another thing, should then spin off into another thing, and the interactions, the playbook interactions, the move interactions, they should all just sort of domino, So that's really interesting that you say that it felt that way, but I don't know what that means. Like I
don't know either.
Yeah.
I love to marinate on it more. Yeah. That's not a fair thing to say, and I haven't played that much of it. So I think I'm going to keep playing it. And obviously people love Powered by the Apocalypse games, so.
Did the players feel that way too? Or was it more like you felt that way? Because you mentioned that they had like critiques.
Yeah, I think the players felt that way too. I think we're just used to real crunchy systems, right? And I think it's probably just a product of our play style, which we like to get to a point. We love combat. We just love combat. I'm not sure I can do a game with those folks without using combat somehow. But I love these points where normally it's like, okay, we've set up all these mechanics that are set against you, and now I just get to be the arbiter of these mechanics while they try to use the resources they have at their disposal, the mechanics they have at their disposal to fight against it and hopefully shoot for a good outcome. And it felt like running this, I just sort of got to pick when a conflict was resolved. I don't know if I wasn't using the tools correctly, but it definitely just felt like, well, I guess you guys win now. And it wasn't satisfying in the same way it is when you dive really deep into a crunchy system and they somehow overpower it and you go, oh my gosh, I did not think you could win that, but that's now that the more I talk, the more I realize that this is a play style preference, probably about crunchy versus modern systems or light system. What would you call those? Crunchy and rules light?
Narrative systems.
Narrative.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I love Dread. So what do you
I was gonna say, I kind of wish we could dig into this more, but time is so.
Yeah, that's how we end, huh?
I know, right? So Justin has did have 2 follow-up questions he typed in the chat. Do you want to say what they were?
Yeah. So if you were a player in this world, what kind of hero / powers would they have or be, and what would their favorite type of bread be?
With no full knowledge, that second question is more important than the first one.
Yes, clearly.
Obviously.
Oh man.
I know the bread question is real tough.
Yeah, it's always the toughest question.
It is.
I think immortality and no other powers would be interesting. And then their favorite kind of bread was an Egyptian bread that no longer exists, and they're mad about it all the time.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Well, so I like the idea of immortality and no other powers because you can like learn how to use it creatively.
Right. Yeah, it's like Batman, right? Same sort of vibe. You have this one resource. How do you use it?
And you've spent a long time you've had a long time to figure that out, right? To like play around.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do is actually just keep you all up here, and do like what I usually do when I send you away into the ether for the audience. I'm just going to keep you up here because of the tech difficulties we've had. I'm just going to do my spiel. So, Caleb, thank you for guest GMing the Death of Burnout, and for coming on Holy Happy Hour.
Thank you for playing. Thank you all for having me. Thanks for having me on here. It's been a blast. Y'all are great. If people haven't listened to the Death of Burnout, you could listen to it as a standalone. I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you tell people where to find you other than, in the Death of Burnout? Where else can people find you?
Yes. I run a show, Sounds Like Crows, which is a Deadlands, started as Deadlands Reloaded and then became the New Adventure Edition. It doesn't matter, Suede. And I ran that for 3 years, and we finished our first campaign, 5 seasons. I love it. It turned out great. And then besides that, at Marshall Caleb on Twitter. And then if you get in our Discord, I'm going to start a play test for like a hex crawly D&D 5th edition West Marches game here. Soon-ish, next few months, hopefully. That's what I got going on.
Cool. Awesome. Do you want to say, Justin, do you want to plug a couple of things before we go here?
Sure. Tune in tomorrow as we run Deadlands here on the All Ports Open Network.
It's a very natural transition. Yeah, what time and what channel?
7:30 was this one. So 8 Central, 7...
Isn't it 8:30 Eastern? No? That was 8:30 Eastern.
I thought it was 8. I think it's 8 Eastern.
Oops, we're getting... I told them.
I think it's 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And that's going to be on All Ports Open here on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. All under the same name.
There we go. And Justin is running that, it's worth saying. In the same universe that I ran Deadlands for Apon Plays, and Sean was a player in that game. It's the same build. In fact, one of the characters is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Being the resident cowboy of the group, I kind of had to. So
there you go. Sean, do you have anything you want to plug besides Delinquent Comics? Pot of Love's not on the air right now.
Nope, I do some editing for Apon every once in a while, and that's about it.
And by do some editing for Apon, he means he does all the editing for Delinquent Comics and did tons and tons of editing and producing for Pot of Love when it was on season. And when it goes back on season again, probably continuing to do. Well, we'll have to rebalance the work because there was no Delinquent Comics for that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, okay. So if you wanna do one thing, I'll plug one thing for Pot of Love.
Okay.
Go listen to episode 97.
Okay.
It's a good standalone story. If you want to just have a nice, just kind of fun, romantic story. It's a little bit different from the rest of our episodes, but go check out Pot of Love, episode 97. It's the one I'm most proud of.
Is that?
And just go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a good little 45 minutes for you.
Cool. I don't remember what episode 97 is, so I'll have to go back and check myself because I don't remember which one. I think I know what episode it is.
Yeah, why don't you go back and listen to it?
I will. I'll have to go back and listen to it.
Go listen to it.
All right.
And it'll be
give
good.
Us a live reaction tweet.
There we go. All right, cool. So I have a little ending script that I usually do when it's just me here at the end. But huge thanks to the cast of Delinquent Comics. Connor, who's not on the show right now, but was here in spirit. Ashton, Justin, and Sean. And huge thanks to Caleb for joining us. We really appreciate it. And for taking over my show.
Thank you, Caleb. Thank you so much.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
For folks who are watching, please don't forget to hit the follow button. You could also consider subscribing to my channel if you wish. If you only caught part of tonight's show, you're able to watch the whole thing on demand for a brief time here on Twitch, but you can head over to allportsopen.com to watch every episode of the show afterward, or you can find All Ports Open on YouTube, which maybe that's where you're watching this right now. I don't know. And you can check out all of our shows. All of our video content on our network is up at our YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of that. Huge thanks to Joshua Wise, my Apon co-founder, for the artwork on the stream. Not right now, but the other good artwork that was on here before, and everything he does for our network. Thanks to Doctor Octoroc for the use of his music on the show. I am That Gamer Priest, Ben. Come back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. The hosts of the Character Creation Cast on the One Shot Network, Amelia and Ryan, are going to be on the show, and we're going to be talking about safety at the table. We're going to be talking about safety tools at your tabletop role-playing game table. So come back next week for that. And for now, enjoy the holiest and happiest of hours, my friends. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're about to raid into the game that Ashton's in, the Kim Kardashian on the pirate ship game. So don't go anywhere. That's gonna be on your screen in just 1 minute.